We're on.
Hi guys, I'm Tasha, and can you even see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, can they see me?
They can see you.
All right, and this is Dr. Sam.
Hello,
and
all.
just as a little intro, actually, Dr. Sam, can you introduce yourself? What do you do um, for
Sure.
my viewers?
My doctoral degree is in physical therapy, so I'm a DPT, and my specialty is rehabilitation and health transformation, and some people call that wellness. So that's really my specialty is wellness.
Cool. And what do you like? So you work in an office, and then you also do stuff with people through the internet?
Oh, yeah, I didn't know how detailed you want me to get. So, yes, I do work in a clinic still, and I see patients on an individual basis, patients and clients. Some people come to me for specific diagnosed medical conditions, and other people are just coming to me for general health and wellness reasons. So, I spend some time during the week in the clinic working with people, and then I work with people privately. Sometimes I make house calls, and then I also do wellness consulting via online over the web within the U.S. and even internationally. People contact me, and I also run health retreats. I got an upcoming one coming up here this March in Costa Rica, just in a few weeks. So I'm excited about that, and also do like seminars and webinars and public speaking. So that's how I reach people, one and many.
Awesome. Keep up the good work.
Yes.
Okay, so I invited Dr. Sam to share with you guys today because he has experience with mold. And as you know, I'm going through a lot of stuff because of living in mold. And so I'm very curious about his story. Dr. Sam was actually the first person that I talked to who had dealt with mold and was very much an encouragement for me and gave me a lot of tips and hope. So, could you like just start off by sharing how the whole mold thing started for you?
Sure, I was actually working in a clinic that was servicing children with special needs, and I don't really like that term because I think all children have special needs, but that's the term public usually is privy to when it comes to children with ADD and autism and Fragile X and Asperger's syndrome and autistic spectrum disorder on the spectrum. So I was working in a clinic there a few days a week and doing a lot of work with these kids, especially hands-on stuff with them, trying to get their systems functioning better. And then my health started to go down a little bit. So you start to wonder, like, wow, am I just taking on traits of my environment? And these kids, as precious as they are, their systems aren't always functioning right. So they act a little bit uh, zany sometimes, and but my health started to decline, and I'm pretty in tune with my body. So all of a sudden, I was like, "Whoa, what the heck is going on?" And I started to look at the people around me, and they were getting sick as well. And it was every week somebody was probably going to the doctor to get put on an antibiotic for some kind of infection, either sinus infection or a throat infection. And I'm not a huge fan of antibiotics, so I was not going that route. But I was still having some challenges, where my throat would be sore. I can't say I was having full-blown infections at that time, but my throat was sore and sinuses were bothering me. I was getting headaches, and then that progressed to getting skin rashes and problems concentrating, short-term memory loss, and then the symptoms continue to progress. So at that point, I'm like, okay, obviously there's something wrong here. And what I started to notice, Tasha, was that it really did come on mostly when I was in that environment, and then when I was out of that environment, a lot of the symptoms would go away. Now, as you know, it can be a challenge because sometimes once you're out of the environment and you start to go through detoxification, you still have some symptoms, but they're more of symptoms of the detox than they are from direct mold exposure. So, and your body obviously, once it gets a chance to eliminate toxins, it will do so very, very quickly, especially if you're very healthy. And so the minute you're out of there, you may go through some detox. So that was what's happening to me over and over and over. And I brought it to management's attention, and they just didn't really want to take ownership of the issue, and it started to get worse. So eventually I just told them, hey, I'm leaving, and I can't do this. I don't want to jeopardize my health. And I really think ethically you have an ethical responsibility to get this place fixed for the children's sake. And their comment to me was, well, if you think there's a problem with the building, you should talk to the building owner. And I said, well, no, really, that's your guys' responsibility. And the fact that you don't want to do that is confirming my definite decision that I need to leave here, because you're not putting everybody's health at the forefront of what is most important here, despite what you're telling us. And so that's what I started to go through, and the symptoms progressed. They got to the point where I was really having significant headaches, significant GI problems, which is gastrointestinal stuff, digestive distress, and skin rashes, like I said, memory loss. Then when I finally got out of there, I'll never forget, because it was a day or two after I finally left the building, I was coughing up and like puking up like black and red chunks of stuff, which is the mold, and you could even smell it. It smelled like a giant mushroom or something. That it was nasty, and I'll never forget though, because I felt like so good, obviously eliminating out of my system, and I felt really alive too. I was like, wow, I am alive. Most people feel alive when they're at a rock concert or just they drink their green smoothie. I mean, I felt invigorated to have this experience, but I'll never forget thinking to myself, wow, this is a valuable experience to have, all of it, so that way I know, and I asked in quietude, why am I going through this many times afterward, and the answer was, oh, just think of how many more people you can help. And case in point, when you had reached out to me, I said, oh yeah, I've been there. And it is possible to recover from it. I know it doesn't seem that way at times. I know that you had challenges, and it can be a long recovery. It just really depends on how much mold you're exposed to and how well your body can eliminate it. It will just determine how fast you recover. So it did take me probably a couple months or a few months to feel a lot better, for sure. And then it's really interesting because now I'm very aware of moldy environments. I can't say I'm hypersensitive to where I can't function in them, but I'm very aware they're there, and that's really important. So, and I think that's the place that everybody needs to get to, is to become very aware, so that way when you're in an environment and your body talks to you, you're saying to yourself, okay, this is not the best environment, so therefore later on if I'm feeling a little bit off, there's no mystery behind it. It's like what happened, and you made a conscious choice to stay in it, which is fine. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices. Let's say, for example, you were going to help a family member move their stuff and it was stored in a place that just happened to be moldy or musty, and so, but you stepped up to try to help a family or friend out, and later on you're not wondering why you feel that way, because you're very aware of the environment. Or you start to get aware of the symptoms of mold, and that way if you start to experience those symptoms, such as, again, skin rashes or significant GI problems, specifically a deep pain in your intestines, I know I experienced over and over, and things like that, or repeating headaches, or problems concentrating, or fatigue, those are all classic signs of mold. And if you're familiar with those, it's a good thing, because then when you're challenged, if you are ever challenged with those things again, you can then have that database to go back to and say, well, this could be a mold issue. It's not definitely a mold issue, but it could be one, and you need to be aware of that. So then you start to check your environment or check anything you might have changed in your diet to determine whether you have exposed yourself to mold.
Wow.
That was a lot, but
that was a lot. Yeah.
That'll probably answer a lot of questions.
Yes, it will. So, when you were working in that job full time?
It was 3 days a week, and I couldn't imagine being there full time. I mean, I was there 3 days a week, and I was still that challenged, and I couldn't imagine being there full. There's no way I could handle being there 5 days a week. I probably would have ended up in a hospital. No joke. Kids. When I started to work with some of the kids, now they already had health challenges, so sometimes management would be like, well, I mean, that's just them acting up. And I'm like, no. This child was fine in the waiting room, and when we brought them back to work with them in the therapy, back part of the therapy center, all of a sudden they really started to go nutty, and some of them even got nosebleeds, which is a classic sign of mold exposure as well. And I was like, kids' nose just doesn't start bleeding for the heck of it. There's got to be a cause. So I started to note that, even pointed those things out, and that's when I got really, really concerned. So it was just 3 days a week, and thank God, because if it was 5, it would have definitely been a big challenge.
Wow. So, once you got out of there, what were you doing to get well?
Yeah, well, once I got out of there, there was definitely some things to consider, and as always, I always tell people to always take things back to the basics, and just take a really good look at your lifestyle, even if you think you're doing something, because there's often a big disconnect between what people are doing and what they think they're doing. Like if you give advice to somebody such as for mold recovery, you say, hey, you really need to make sure you're getting out in the sun and you need to exercise. Oh yeah, I'm doing that, but really, are you doing that? You know you should be doing that, and you're in love with the idea of doing that, but are you actually doing it? Because there's it works when you really do it. And I go through this sometimes in my own health, and that's why I created a whole system to have a checks and balances to always just remind myself that, like, yeah, you know to do it, so now you just have to do it. So I was making sure at that point I was getting out in the sun a lot more and definitely exercising outside versus inside, so fresh air and sunshine were there, and staying hydrated, but only to only what is needed, because you obviously want to create an environment in which mold can't continue to thrive, inside your body too. And you might have found this at times where you don't crave water, and even if, but yet you're not showing signs of dehydration, which means you really don't need any, right? And that's your body's instinctive way of kind of probably staying a little drier so that the mold can die off. So it is a really interesting balance there. And so getting ample amounts of rest and ample amounts of those other things really helped. I do recommend that people should consider vitamin C therapy, not only for just recovery from mold, but even as a general supplement. We're up against so many toxins and in the world that we live in today, that extra vitamin C is probably a good idea. So taking that in, because vitamin C is antifungal, it will help to rid the body of mold. And since mold can take a stronghold on your liver, kidneys, and lungs and stuff, you're going to need the vitamin C to recover, and I highly recommend that. Things with vitamin C are that you can really go to bowel tolerance, which means when you start having loose stools, you've had enough vitamin C. Up until that point, you probably haven't had too much, but because people say, well, how much? 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 milligrams. You really can go, like I said, as high as to a bowel tolerance. And most people, though, would benefit from just even a couple thousand milligrams, just starting out that way, and they can up it over time. And they just have to decide. Vitamin C should be buffered, so that means calcium ascorbate or sodium ascorbate, and regular vitamin C is just ascorbic acid. So you do want to make sure it's buffered vitamin C. And people debate, just like everything, what's the best bioavailable form? Is it liposomal vitamin C? Is it other forms of vitamin C? Some people take the camu powder because that's supposedly a very vitamin-rich C fruit. So you could take the powder and just mix it in your smoothies. I do think it works, but I actually took both just to make sure that I'm definitely getting enough. So that's one thing that can help. There are essential oils that are definitely antifungal that work wonders for mold. One is tea tree oil, also known as melaleuca, that can help a lot. You need a high quality oil if you were to ingest it, and whenever ingesting oils, you should use caution. Some people will tell you never should. I don't personally agree with that. I think some can be, but you have to be cautious with that. So you could just even apply tea tree. Obviously it's going to enter your body if you're smelling it. So if you had tea tree oil and you were to just sniff it, that's still getting in you. You're just not consuming it by mouth, or even putting it on your skin. In a sense, you can definitely get the effects of tea tree that way. But other ones are cinnamon and eucalyptus and clove. They're all antifungal agents, and they're powerful essential oils that definitely can help. And there's some others as well. So definitely use plant power, just as we do when we eat it. But the essential oils are a very powerful way to not only deal with your body, but even a moldy environment, where if you were to treat a moldy environment with those essential oils, you could definitely kill mold, and it can work very quickly. Now, one of the things you need to be careful with essential oils, if you do go that route at all for your environment, is some of them can be very toxic to animals such as cats, so for your pets. So you want to be cautious with that, just because obviously you wouldn't want something to happen to your pet. I guess it's specifically they don't have a specific enzymatic pathway system that can break down some of the oils. That's why it can be a little bit detrimental to them. And so I just want to throw that out there so people aren't like, oh yeah, and they start using a lot, and all of a sudden their cat or dog passes away. It'd probably be a smaller animal, but just like I said, look into it. Just like anything, people need to do their due diligence on that, but they're very, very effective. So that obviously works. And then in terms of mold, because I became more aware of mold and environment and mold as an issue, I started to do a home check on my own home that I'm living in. And what you want to look for is, does your house have any leaks? Because if it has a leak, you're definitely going to probably end up with a mold problem eventually. So you want to make sure there's no leaks in your home. And the other thing I did was made sure the vapor barrier underneath my house, because I have a crawl space that you can literally crawl in. You don't have to army crawl. You can be on your hands and knees and maybe hunched over walking, but you definitely can't stand up in. So it's a low to the ground crawl space, and you put down what's called a vapor barrier, moisture barrier. Usually they're made out of polyethylene, and I made sure that mine was really thick and that everything was covered, so there's no dampness coming up through my walls or into the floorboards. Also, make sure it's a good idea to possibly have your vents cleaned out. And the thing is this, if you are going to do the vents, I would recommend that you get what's called a deep systems cleaning done on your HVAC system, which is your central heating and air system, because what a deep systems cleaning does is they clean the egg coils and the deeper parts of the system, which is where mold actually usually collects. Because if you don't and you just clean your ducts out, it will help, but you're just going to have blowing, new, so to speak, moldy air back, mold back through your vent system of your house. So that's definitely something to consider. The other thing is humidity, and you can get what's called a hygrometer. You can buy those probably at Home Depot or Lowe's or another department store or online. Again, it's called a hygrometer, and all it does is measure humidity, and you want to keep your humidity levels probably at around 40%, 45% overall, and that will help to keep mold down. In the summer, you can even run your AC unit just to keep humidity out of the air, and that will prevent a mold problem from happening. I know some people like it warm. I live in Georgia. It is very warm here and humid in summer, and I like that feel. I like that tropical feel, but at a certain point, you have to not be too stubborn, because that can cost you. You'll end up getting a mold problem in your house, and that'll cost you lots of money to fix. So to pay a little bit more on your heating and air bill is nothing compared to the damage you'll pay in mold, not only to your home but your health. So don't be too stubborn there. If people don't want to run their AC, they can buy a dehumidifier if they want to run that instead. And again, if you had the hygrometer, you'd know where your humidity levels are at. So that's really important, to consider your environment, both external and internal, because you are a product of your environment. So if your living space, your working space, and then your own body, you really have to take a comprehensive approach with this, with mold, and with any health challenge.
Wow, great, thank you. So the stuff that you were doing, all this getting back to basics, this was over the 3-month period, and did your detox get worse during this time? Or
yeah, it got a little worse at first, for sure. I mean, I definitely had still a lot of fatigue and some memory issues. I even started to stammer a little bit when I was speaking, which is another sign your brain's kind of short-circuiting, and that's not a good sign. But I wasn't worried it was going to get worse. I knew that it was stuff coming out, and I just needed to keep coming out. So I definitely did experience a little bit of intensification of detox symptoms, but I knew in my heart that I was going to heal, because it's like, all right, I have eliminated the cause. And as we know, the 2-step process for dealing with most health challenges is to remove the cause of the problem and then establish the conditions of health. And I'm thinking, okay, step 1, check. Step 2, check. All right, I'm bound to heal at this point. There wouldn't be any reason I shouldn't. So you really do have to hang in there. And one of the things that I could offer people as advice as well, if you're going through any health challenge, is to journal. And I think you probably were doing this. And you really should journal, because if not, you don't really know if you're getting better, and that can really psychologically throw you for a loop. If you're really, God, I'm just not getting better, it's really not the program you want to be running all the time in your head, because that's what you're going to manifest, not getting better. obviously. So when you keep a journal and you say, hey, wow, I could exercise today for longer than an hour, or I could actually, walk this far today, or I could think clearer, or my speech is getting better. It's a really great idea to journal. I think it's a great idea to just track your health overall. I know if my health ever starts to slip a little bit, and I review some things, all of a sudden I go, well, yeah, man, you took this out, or you stopped doing this. Or, if you just keep a journal or a system all the way along, that's less likely to happen. The only time that's going to happen then is more of after a trauma. If you had enough big enough trauma, whether it's physical or emotional, something could throw you for a loop. You might get a health challenge, post that. But overall, if it's just day in and day out stuff, the journal will keep you on track. And even if you did have a trauma, I'd definitely be journaling at that point.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Dr. Sam. I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah, we had so much fun today trying to figure out the tech side of this, and we tried several different things, and I know on my end I didn't have some software or whatever to run it, and finally I remembered I had this ability to do it this way, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. So it's always a pleasure. I'm always privileged and honored to be asked to be interviewed and share information any way I can help people. I know in my own life, having several health challenges, significant health challenges, and overcoming them, every reason has been so that I could help that many more people. And I one day asked, like, well, can I learn on somebody else? And, from there, I don't want to have to go through it. And sometimes you just have to. And let me tell you, when you do, you really open your heart. You become very compassionate and empathetic, and you really start to understand human beings and even other creatures on a whole new level, because there's a lot to said for a little bit of, or even a lot of suffering from time to time. It humbles you, keeps your ego in check. It makes you compassionate. It makes you really want to continue to give back and give loving service. So thank you for having me on the call, and I look forward to more interviews. Now that we got the tech side of things figured out, I say we definitely do some more snippets on health and healing, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. So where can people find you, Dr. Sam?
Sure. My main website is probably the best place, and that's just drsampt.com. That's drsampt.com. Again, drsampt.com. Just making sure that I enunciated that correctly, so people are like, is that T or G? Or yeah, Dr. Sam PT, and even if you Google that, I'll come up, I'm sure. And that's where you can find me, because that has all the links to like my retreats or events I'll be speaking at, or my YouTube channel or Facebook page, and you can find me there. I have a free newsletter. Please feel free to sign up for that and stay in touch, and I definitely hope this serves your viewers well and anyone else that may view this video.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Go check out Dr. Sam's website, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.